Hey everyone, imagine this. A young woman full of dreams sits in a cafe for a casting interview. Across the table, a man, a supposed industry professional, assesses her for a modeling job. But what happens next shatters the trust of that moment. What was supposed to be a professional interaction turned into a criminal case. What followed was a legal battle that made its way to the Singapore High Court. Was the accused falsely convicted, or was justice truly served? Did the inconsistencies in the victim's story mean she was lying? Does the absence of evidence automatically mean innocence? The answers to these questions reveal a deeper truth, not just about the law, but about the nature of truth itself. Let's begin with the facts of the case. The accused, Lim Hua Tong Jasons, was convicted in the lower court of outraging the modesty of a woman under Section 354 of the Penal Code. Outrage of modesty simply means to molest someone, to touch someone in an inappropriate place. Under this law, any person who uses criminal force to outrage the modesty of another can face serious legal consequences, including imprisonment. According to the prosecution, the incident happened at a cafe during a casting interview. The victim was there under the belief that Lim, a professional in the industry, was measuring her for a modeling job. But during the process, he allegedly grabbed her right breast, not as part of any legitimate measurement, but in a way that violated her modesty. But that's not all. Aside from this outrage of modesty charge, Lim also pleaded guilty to 2 counts of forgery under Section 465 of the Penal Code, 1 charge under Section 1481 of the Companies Act, and 1 charge under Section 1541 of the Companies Act. The district judge in the lower court sentenced him to a total of 14 months in prison, including 7 months for the outrage of modesty charge alone. Lim then appealed, arguing that he was wrongly convicted and that his sentence was too harsh. The High Court now had to decide, was the original judgment fair? The case revolved around 4 key points in dispute. The first issue was inconsistencies in the victim's story. The victim initially told police that Lim used his left hand to grab her breast, but later she admitted she wasn't sure which hand was used. Lim therefore argued that since his left hand was injured and bandaged, it was physically impossible for him to commit the crime. The second issue was the missing CCTV footage. The cafe had 8 CCTV cameras. Lim claimed that the footage could have cleared his name, but it was never secured. He blamed the police for not obtaining the footage. The third issue was the victim's reaction. Lim argued that a real victim would have immediately reported the crime to the waitress nearby. Since she didn't, Lim claimed it cast doubt on her credibility. The fourth issue was Lim's allegations of a false accusation. Lim suggested that the victim was emotionally unstable and on psychiatric medication. He claimed she had a motive to lie. The defense and the prosecution had very different interpretations of the facts. Lim's lawyers argued that the victim was lying because her story changed over time. His injured hand made it physically impossible for him to commit the act. The missing CCTV footage should have been secured by the police. He questioned why the victim didn't react immediately. The prosecution's response was that the victim's inconsistency about the hand used was minor and understandable. The prosecution argued that even if her memory was imperfect, her core testimony remained consistent and convincing. Lim had access to the CCTV footage himself. If it was truly helpful, why didn't he preserve it? The victim's delayed reaction was not unusual. Not all victims respond the same way to trauma. In the end, the High Court dismissed Lim's appeal, ruling that the victim's testimony remained credible. The High Court stated that the missing CCTV footage was Lim's responsibility, not the police's responsibility. The victim's reaction was reasonable. Lim's claims of false accusations lacked proof. The final sentence of 7 months for outrage of modesty and 14 months total for all charges remain. In this case, the truth was tested, challenged, and even distorted by attempts to introduce doubt. But in the end, justice prevailed. Thanks for joining me in this case summary. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.